Is it your birthday? Tomorrow. Cool. Happy early birthday. What are you going to do? Something special?
Nope.
Yep.
Not that I know of.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't planning on it. Oh, changing my Facebook profile picture. Yeah.
Are you? Hey, there you
42 for my entire year of being 42. So.
For 43. Oh, sorry. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I wasn't watching up there. 1 minute goes awfully fast sometimes. Welcome, everyone, to the May 3rd Muscatine City Council meeting. Greg, would you please do the roll call?
Certainly. Councilmember Spread.
Present.
Harvey.
Present.
Brockert.
Present.
Saucedo. Brackett.
Present.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Malcolm.
Present.
6 present, 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance at this time? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to do a slight change around in the agenda. We had a couple of housekeeping items to take care of. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to John DeBeat, who is the president of our sister cities, and he would like to share something with us, and we are anxious to hear all about it.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City Administrator. My name is John DeBeat, and I'm the Muscatine Sister Cities President. Also, I serve on Sister City International in Washington, D.C. as a board director. I'm here for 2 reasons, even though on the agenda we are stating only one. The first one is I would like to recognize the city for keeping Muscatine International Park very gorgeous. I want to use this term really, park here in Muscatine. So on behalf of Muscatine Sister City, we would like to thank the city for maintaining and keeping this park really very nice. You know, I pass by this park almost every day, and I start noticing the new flower and, you know, the landscaping and so on. So thank you to the city for keeping this park this way. The second reason why I'm here is one of our sister cities, Lomja, Poland, will be celebrating 600 years, basically this year, since they started and they charter as a city. They did send an official invitations to me to participate in this celebration, and also to our mayor to go also and participate in their celebration of 600 years of their city. The celebrations will be in June. They are expecting us between June 14th and June 18th. Everything will be covered based on what they are telling us, with the exception of obviously the ticket. So pending, if we find funding, most probably will be going to represent the city during this event. Excuse me. If not, most probably will take different action to still recognize this city as one of our cities here, as one of our sister cities here. Trips like that obviously will continue to lift up the name of Muscatine worldwide, and that is very important. Trips like that will continue to establish more and more citizen diplomacy between Muscatine, Iowa, and the rest of the world. So those are the 2 reasons why I'm here. Thank you a lot, and hopefully we'll talk more about this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I also love our International Friendship Park, and it is beautiful every time you go by. The last time we were all there, I think, together was with Richard and Mary Jo Stanley, which we do have that Richard and Mary Jo Stanley Day coming up on May 20th, just as a reminder for everyone. And John, I can tell you that I have also already heard interest from at least one council member in the trip. So we'll be in touch, and thank you so much. Next, I would like to ask Justin Van Est to please meet me up at the podium. my pleasure tonight to be able to swear in a new officer to the Muscatine Police Force. We're so honored and proud to have you join us, and we know that you will do a great job. If you could come over here so that people can hear you in the microphone, raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Justin Van Est,
I, Justin Van Est,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the constitutions
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Iowa,
and the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of police officer
of police officer
in the city of Muscatine
in the city of Muscatine
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I need you to sign right here. Could I please use your pen, Councilman? Right here. Move that for you now. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Please allow council to congratulate you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations from all of us, Officer Van Est, and thank you for joining our service, and thank you to all the family.
Don't lose that radio.
We'll go ahead and continue with tonight's agenda. The next thing on our agenda is to just ask our audience, is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak to council about something that's not currently on tonight's agenda? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Christopher Foss, and my wife Melanie and I live at 803 Whicher Street.
Okay.
And I'm here to speak about the possible reopening of Whicher Street through traffic. And I thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
Certainly.
It's a working class neighborhood, but most of us chose to live there, and we like it because it's cul-de-sacs now. It's been closed off for 25 years because it was too unsafe. And it's really a very nice neighborhood. We had the public meeting on the 23rd, the neighborhood meeting, and a couple of you were there, and thank you for coming down and being with us. Really appreciated that. And the proposals were that, I don't know if you know the street, but there's a very low spot that's been blocked off for 25 years, and that they intend to fill that with 6 feet of fill and raise that up to a level, and then put the road on top of that. And they want to, when you come up 5th Street, and right there Whicher Street is blocked off, they want to put a curve onto Whicher Street, and then you'd go down to 8th Street. Mr. Steinman said that now most of us were, all of us, we were 100% opposed to doing that because it's really a very nice street, and we can't really see that putting the fill there is going to cure the underlying problem with the road. We don't think it's going to work because part of where the road is on wet weather springs, and that's why even though there's no traffic on it for 25 years, it keeps moving. So the road is just not going to stay put. That's one of the things. Mr. Steinman said that nothing was going to be crammed down anybody's throat, but we've all been around a long time, and so we kind of see the handwriting on the wall. If you're going to put out a letter and have a public meeting, it's pretty much been decided by the people that have the actual say. So this is what would happen. When the time comes for a vote, they'll come to you all and they'll say, well, the citizens were uniformly opposed to it, but this is what we think, and present their opinion and get a favorable vote. And so, being citizens here, and we've all lived there a long time. Some of the people have lived there a very long time. Most of the homes are owner-occupied because we like it. But if it's going to be opened up to through traffic, we're going to have a couple of things just for safety. It was a racetrack 25 years ago, and it'll go back to be doing that unless there's something to slow people down. If nothing slows people down, then starting at Iowa Street and 5th, all the way up around Witcher and back to Iowa Street on 8th Street, there will be no traffic control whatsoever. And it'll be a racetrack once again. Even if the road is smoothed out, they're still going to go flying through there. Because they do that now on 5th Street. We live right there at the corner behind the rocks. That's us. And so we've been there 10 years, and 3 times since we've been there, somebody's come flying up 5th Street too fast to make the left onto Cherry, and they've taken the fire hydrant right out. So what needs to happen is right there at that corner, instead of a curve, there needs to be a squared corner and a stop sign to slow people down. Now that's going to save you money on fire hydrants for one thing, but it's going to slow people down coming through the neighborhood. Otherwise they'll pop over the hill 40 miles an hour and be in our little residential neighborhood, and somebody's going to get hurt. There will be accidents. There also needs to be 4-way stop sign at Witcher and Green Street and a 3-way stop sign at Quince and Witcher Street, and sidewalks so our children can walk to school safely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for taking the time to come and talk to us. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else tonight? Please state your name and address.
I'm Roger Chapman. I live at 1012 East 8th Street in Muscatine. And I talked to Phil Fitzgerald here this afternoon or this evening when I got here about this. Now you guys upped the ante on the utility tax to 5% from 1%. Well, now you got the speed cameras back. You're going to get your revenue back. So what's to keep you from lowering that utility tax back to where it was, or lower than 5%? I mean, it's going to really hurt the citizens of Muscatine to get their utility bills raised that high, because a lot of people are living on fixed income like myself. We can't afford that. I mean, you got your revenue back now, lower it.
Thank you.
And also one other thing is the tornado sirens last night. When the tornado sirens was off, I went outside when I was outside working when they first going off. Walked in my house, I can't hear them inside. So in my neighborhood, my grandson lives on the 500 block of Adams Street, and he said he's never able to hear them in his house either. So if they go off in the middle of the night, nobody's going to hear them. So something needs to be done to address that issue.
Thank you for sharing.
All right, thank you. What's your address? 1012 East 8th.
Anyone else?
I might make a comment to what Roger just said, that I complained
Yes, go ahead.
I complained that we couldn't hear the sirens inside our home either where we live, and I can't tell you who told me now, but I was told by some city person that those sirens were never intended for people inside their homes to hear it. And I just couldn't believe that statement, that they were only intended for people outside.
Sirens are outdoor warning sirens. Encourage folks to have indoor weather radios or other opportunities, but they are outdoor warning sirens, yes.
And I'm on the Emergency Management Commission, and we are continually working on the sirens. There's a schedule that we're working through. Some of them are old and parts are no longer able to get, so we've been putting them in, as many as we can each time. They're very expensive. Some communities don't even have them anymore. But one thing that that is true is that they're meant for if you're outside and you're not paying attention to media. So in the house, they assume that people have a weather radio, a television, cable TV, and the like going off. There's apps that you can get on your phone where alarms will go off, and probably most communities are going to that more and more, and depending on people to use social media. But as an aside to besides this comment, this is this time at the beginning when folks share for a few minutes with council. This is not typically a time that council will respond. This would be a time for you to share your concerns, and then we can talk about it at another time. I understand, and that may happen sometimes. I know there's a variety of different apps that you can sign up for, whether it be Channel TV6 or the local weather or whatever it is. We will go ahead and move on with tonight's agenda. We're on number 5. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A, items 8A through J, items 9A through C, items 12A through F, and tonight's bills totaling $1,589,578.99.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries with all ayes. We are now on 9. And we have a couple of proclamations tonight. The first one is, I got to get these in order a little bit, Drinking Water Week. Whereas we, the citizens of Muscatine, place high value on local control over community services and therefore have chosen to operate community-owned, locally controlled, not-for-profit electric, water, and communications utilities, and as consumers and owners of these utilities have a direct say in utility operations and policies, and whereas Muscatine Power and Water provides our homes, businesses, farms, social service, and local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and low-cost water services, employing sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service at not-for-profit rates, and whereas Muscatine Power and Water is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community a better place in which to live and work, as well as contributes to protecting the global environment. Now therefore be it resolved that Muscatine Power and Water will continue to work to bring lower cost, safe, reliable water services to the Muscatine community, residents, and businesses. And be it further resolved that the week of May 6th through 12th be designated Drinking Water Week in recognition that water, our most valuable resource, aids in support of public health, providing fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy, and to honor Muscatine Power and Water for its contributions to the community, and to make its consumer owners, policymakers, and employees more aware of Muscatine Power and Water's overall contributions to their well-being. And be it further resolved that our community joins hands with other communities in the United States in this celebration of Drinking Water Week, and recognition that Muscatine Power and Water is good for consumers, business, the community, and the nation. Our second proclamation tonight is Police Week. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated the week of May 13th through 19th as National Police Week, and the Wednesday of that week as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And whereas the members of the Muscatine Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our community. And whereas since the first recorded police death in 1791, more than 20,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including 4 members of the Muscatine Police Department. And whereas the men and women of the Muscatine Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service, now therefore I, Diana Broderson, Mayor of the City of Muscatine, call upon all citizens of our community and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 13th through the 19th of 2018 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our community may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their community, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of Muscatine to observe Wednesday, May 16th of 2018 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who through their courageous deeds have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Muscatine this 3rd day of May, 2018. Our last proclamation tonight is Kids to Parks Day. Whereas May 19th of 2018 is the 8th Kids to Parks Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the 3rd Saturday of each May. And whereas Kids to Park Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks. And whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes mellitus, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. That just rose right off your tongue. And whereas Kids to Park Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas Kids to Park Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and outdoors. And now, therefore, I, Diana Broderson, Mayor of the City of Muscatine, do hereby proclaim to participate in Kids to Parks Day. I encourage residents of Muscatine to make time, May 19th, to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park. We're pleased to do these for the community. And we will move on with tonight's agenda to 11A. Tonight, we have the second and final reading of an ordinance. Presented for City Council's consideration is the second and final reading of an ordinance amending City Code 753B for automated traffic enforcement. This amendment will remove the words "through the marked intersection" from this section of the City Code. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance as submitted and to direct for its publication as required by law?
So moved, Your Honor.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion tonight? Hearing none, Councilman Fitzgerald, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Brockert?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Brockert. Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
And Councilman Spread.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11B. Presented for City Council's consideration is the first and final reading of an ordinance amending City Code Title 7, Chapter 5, Automated Traffic Enforcements. A clerical error was identified in the codification of Muscatine Code of Ordinances, Section 7-5-5. This clerical error inadvertently omitted Section A of 7-5-5 from the Muscatine Code of Ordinances, which subsection established a scheduled penalty for violation of Title 7, Chapter 5, Section 3A. Staff is recommending that City Council waive its rules and adopt the ordinance on final reading and authorize its publication as required by law. Is there a motion pursuant to Chapter 5 of the Rules of Council to waive the requirements to vote on this ordinance at a second and third meeting prior to moving the ordinance for passage?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald to waive the council rules. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert,
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm,
Aye.
and Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The rules are waived with all ayes. Next, we have a motion to adopt this ordinance on first and final reading as submitted and to direct for its publication as required by law. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. I was wondering whether the fees, et cetera, fines, whatever you want to call them, that are indicated in here should be moved to the addendum or whatever of the ordinances that outline the fees and stuff, so that they're not part of the ordinance.
Should they be moved? I mean,
Should they be moved?
historically,
Like
this
the other fees are and
Right.
fines.
I don't know that I can answer that question. What we were attempting to do is just put it back to the way it was originally adopted,
Right.
which adding section AN and the $75. Whether or not it should be added to the resolution, I don't know that I can answer that question. We were just simply trying to correct the error as quickly as possible. Actually, if you leave it as is, the city could actually charge up to $500 for violation, as noted earlier. So we wanted to get it corrected as quickly as possible.
I'm not opposed, but I just
Right.
wondered whether, we
Right.
spent some effort to move everything to one page and whether,
And actually, we didn't move everything. And there are sections of the code that define within the title the particular fine or fee. I think most of those were just standardized fines and fees that could be updated in one motion or resolution rather than having to go through the ordinance process. So in this case, it may make some sense to, with a significant issue like this, to take it through the ordinance process of 1, 2, or 3 readings rather than a simple resolution that requires only one motion by council. So those are that'd probably be my best explanation at this point in time. A resolution just simply requires one motion.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing nothing, Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
aye?
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted with all ayes. 11C. Presented for City Council's consideration tonight is a resolution authorizing and approving a certain loan agreement providing for the issuance of a $4,090,000 general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2018, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Councilman Fitzgerald, do you want to second?
That'd be fine.
We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
And Councilwoman Brockert.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. Next, we're on 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing concerning Amendment Number 2 to the city budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2018. This amendment will increase total budgeted expenditures for the city by $405,300, and transfers out will increase by $73,700. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by we have a motion by Councilman Malcolm with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion?
Is there a date for this public hearing, Your Honor?
The public hearing is set for May 17th, 2018.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing nothing, Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
And Councilman Spread.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11E. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve change order number 1 for Airport Hangar Area Improvements Project Phase 1 paving. This change order will cover the cost of additional work performed by Muscatine Bridge Company to extend additional storm water pipe and to place additional concrete to use all of the grant funds available. This will reduce quantities needed for future pavement of the hangar apron area. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11F. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution to accept the completed work and authorize final payment to Muscatine Bridge Company. All work has been completed and it is ready for the final acceptance by the city. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. Next, we have 11G. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution to accept Witkoski Storm Sewer and Drainage Easement. The City of Muscatine is undertaking a project to upgrade and improve surface drainage at 1616 Willow Street, and it is necessary for the city to obtain this permanent easement. The property owner has agreed to the conditions of this easement. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So
So
moved, Your
moved.
Honor.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11H. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a general engineering services agreement with Bolton and Mink. The services agreement will provide engineering services as needed for the Muscatine Municipal Airport from July 1 of 18 through June 30th of 19. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Spread. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11I. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to enter into an agreement with Bolton and Mink for the writing and submission of a grant application to the Transportation Safety Improvement Program funded by the Iowa Department of Transportation. This application will be for traffic improvements at the Hauser and Grandview intersection as part of the Grandview Reconstruction Project. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. If we apply for this grant and it's approved, and all practical possibilities, I guess, we are committing to put a roundabout there, correct?
Yeah.
Mayor, Council? I'm going to say, and I'll give you the short answer, but then allow me some time to explain it. I would say no. Now, let me back up just a little bit. If the council decides to build the roundabout and we get accepted for this TSIP grant, yes, then that would be the case. You would be committed to build what the grant was approved for. The side story to that, the additional piece that goes to that, is if we apply for this intersection the way we think it's going to be, and we get it approved, but the final design is, the end result is that we decide to build something else, you can just say no.
Is it similar to how we ended up on Hauser Street?
Yes, yes. I mean,
Sure.
this is a way, I got to come up with a better word. Give me a second here. This is a way to try to be proactive with getting the financing for the project. If we wait till we hit final design, the way the schedule is going to work, we might be a whole year away on going after TSIP grants. So we're just hedging our bet a little bit that that's how it will turn out and try to get that money for it. We can always go back to the original plan once final design is done and approved. So yeah, your question is a legitimate one, but I think everybody sitting here understands that that decision has not been made final yet.
Good.
I agree.
Go ahead, Councilman Brockert. Councilwoman Brockert.
Thank you. Have there been any other alternatives, Jim, for this particular intersection that have been sat down and
Been looked at. Yes. Yeah, I mean, one of the alternatives that are looked at is a improved geometrics, but still a four-legged signalized intersection. And then one of the others was a roundabout that kept.
Green.
No, I'll get there. Mittman Road.
Other
Relocated out and about, away from it. But the current leader of the pack, and we were going to do this. I'm just a little late. I mean, we can pass that around. Keep in mind that is still in the probably 60% design phase. I mean, we're just sorting out utility conflicts with this drawing. Is to bring Mittman, Hauser, Grandview, and Sampson all into this same roundabout, and to take care of the traffic that way. So
Jim,
there's a couple of alternatives there, and like I said, so there's three alternatives that have been looked at. We still don't have the final design. We still don't have the estimated cost of that yet. We still have all of that evaluation to do, presentation to make to you guys.
will we be working on getting grant funding for any of the other options, or are you? I kind of like otherwise I can hear you coming back like we
Yes.
did on Hauser and saying, well, we can only get this money if we do this, and then
right.
it kind of makes you feel pigeonholed.
And that's the last thing I wish to convey here is that you're pigeonholed. But you can only apply for an intersection to be built a certain way. That's my understanding. So we are in essence just trying to get out ahead of this thing, and we think this is what the final is going to be. If it turns out to be something else, we would, if selected, we would turn that money back in, and then we would just reapply based on
A different.
what the final design was.
Okay. What's the cost differential between a four-signal intersection versus the roundabout?
That one, the way it's designed, because it's a five-legged, it's going to be bigger, more pavement. I would guess, and this is a guess, we don't, like I said, we still have to get to this 90% quote-unquote final plans, get the cost estimate based on that, and make this presentation to you guys as to what these alternatives are. But I would guess at that roundabout, because of the size of it, would be equivalent, maybe a little bit more than what that four-legged intersection would be with the signals. The biggest disadvantage I have on that statement is that I'm not up to date with what permanent traffic signals would cost there.
Okay. How about traffic volume data? Have you collected traffic volume data?
Yeah, traffic data was collected for Grandview less than a year ago, specifically for the project to analyze what we were doing before we started to design it, what would work, what wouldn't work. Yes.
Okay.
You have anything else?
No.
I do.
Go,
I do.
Councilman Brackett was. Go ahead.
Okay. The only comment I had on it is that I'd want to make sure that whatever design we are looking at takes into account the potential for future quiet zone in that area, so that, with the tracks right there, that we are not building something that would prohibit us from a future quiet zone in that
Okay.
area. That would be
I mean,
my only comment there.
Any of those alternatives would not get in the way of a quiet zone there.
Okay. Or make it more expensive. That would be the other.
Yeah, or make it more expensive. No.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Councilman Harvey?
Since the four-way conceivably could be cheaper than the roundabout,
True.
why not apply for a grant to design that?
Excellent question. I believe, and the designers believe, that this is the better long-term maintenance, lower cost over the life of it solution. Yeah, your initial costs could be equal, could be a little different. At this point in time, I don't think we really know. Part of the evolution process that we go through with design is to look at it, figure out what we can do, what we can't do to maybe lower costs. And trust me, with Grandview, that's going to be a fairly lengthy process. But one of the concerns that came out of the one public information meeting that we had was the storage of vehicles on that leg of Sampson where the tracks are. And we have a bit of a problem, recurring problem with trains sitting on those tracks and that occurrence backs traffic up. So this configuration that I just passed around provides about 5 times as much storage as what that four-legged intersection would provide, or what the current intersection provides. So there's an attempt there to solve that problem. So that's why we are thinking that's where we're headed. That in no way, shape, or form is meant to try to sway the council on what it is that they think should be done there. But our advice, your professional consulting firm and the city's engineer advice is going to be to do something similar to that, is going to be our recommendation.
Well, I guess my opinion right now is council's more or less being told that the roundabout is the best of the alternatives, but you haven't proven to me that that's the case, because we haven't engineered, like this investigation, the other alternatives. I mean, you haven't applied this same approach to the four-way and a reconfigured four-way and all that, and then...
What approach are you talking about?
This grant application design, paying for Bolton Mink to basically design the roundabout.
No.
We're not asking...
No. This has nothing to do with paying for any design. This has to do with preparation of the grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is just to write the grant.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
And analyze, do a little bit more detailed traffic analysis on the traffic data collected that supports the information that goes into that grant, that supports why it would be an improvement in safety.
Can we get a copy of the traffic count, current one, and maybe like because you said you had one within the last year.
Yeah.
And then one that's a little older. I don't know when the last one may have been done.
We can get you guys the current traffic data for that Bolton Mink collected for the project. I am not sure what is older than that, but I'm sure there's some information available for that.
Okay.
Councilman Malcolm?
Jim, I'd also like a copy of that design so I can study it more. It's pretty detailed, and
Unless anybody speaks up, you can have that one. Or maybe the thing to do is to scan that and produce one out and send out to
Sounds like
everybody.
we all want one, Jim.
scan it and give it to everybody, please.
Okay.
Yes, that would be great.
Cinda's already reaching for it. Thank you, Cinda.
So
Okay.
this is a different place that we're writing this grant to. This is to the DOT, which is
Yes.
this the exact same place that we wrote the grant to for the one on Hauser?
Yes.
So when we were talking about that money, we lost it if we didn't do the roundabout. We
Right.
could have written another one with a different design. I guess I was under the understanding that it was roundabout only, or there weren't
that-
any grant funds available for anything but a roundabout.
You could have. If that was your understanding, I don't think it was ever the intent to tell you that.
Okay.
You could have taken that mini roundabout, and honestly, you still can, and say, no, we don't want it, turn the money back. And then when you come up with the idea of what you are going to do there, you can apply again with that. The question that I would have is what else you would do.
I must have misunderstood. That wasn't my understanding.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Brockert.
How long will it take for Bolton and Menk to write the grant, and then how long a lead time do they need to do that? And then would the design be ready in time before we submitted the final draft of the grant to IDOT, so that we know for sure what we were asking for?
I am not sure what those dates are. I can get them to you guys, but they overlap in a way that if by the time we get to close to final design, by the time we get to running this project, by you guys with the final alternatives and the things to look at, that's too late to get in on this grant cycle.
Okay.
So then, it's it's an annual thing. So now you're waiting a whole another year. Now you're already, quote unquote, building it, and we're hoping we can do that.
The applications are rolling applications, and are not accepted after August 15th.
There we go. Okay. August 15th is the end of the application.
And it is a competitive process, so the projects that are the safest will be awarded the funds through the competitive process. You can, if you're interested in the program, just type in TSIP Iowa DOT, and it takes you right to the page with the program details. You can see what was awarded for 2019 TSIP approved projects in here.
And I'm on the Region 9 for bi-state policy making meeting. We had our commission, and we had a meeting this morning, and we're talking about the various plans that we're going through with the traffic safety improvement program.
Okay. So when do we expect the final design, Jim, or do we not know at this point?
Final design on Grandview.
Yes. It's in particular this intersection.
Well, okay. Let's not call it final design. Let's call it something like 90%, because that's about when you've got everything except for the nuts and bolts of putting quantities into the plans. I don't remember that date exactly. That's pretty obvious. By the way, I'm looking up into the top of my head trying to remember it. I can get you that information. I think it's still a little ways away.
Okay. But it would behoove us, if we're even thinking about putting a roundabout in there, in order to get this grant submitted before August.
And that's exactly the point,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman Harvey.
I know it probably had the background information, but what's it going to cost the city to have this grant prepared by Bolton Mink? Grant application prepared?
Pretty high.
It's right in that memo, I believe, wasn't that $6 grand?
$6,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm uncomfortable with saying that we don't have a final design for Grandview. So we're going to spend $6,000 to apply for a grant for a roundabout that we haven't decided that we're going to have.
But you can be awarded up to $500,000 for a traffic safety improvement program.
The whole thing is going to put pressure on the council, if this gets approved, is to go with a roundabout, even though we haven't right now agreed to have a roundabout. We're having our arms twisted behind our back.
I don't know that I agree
can always
with
say
that,
no.
Go ahead.
We won't
Go
say
ahead,
no.
finish.
If the state says, hey, I'll give you $6 million to do a roundabout, are we going to say no?
Probably
I doubt
not.
it.
I had a comment on that.
Go ahead, Councilman Brackett.
I got to agree with you, Councilman Harvey. I don't, and I'm a supporter of roundabouts in general. But that was how I felt about the Hauser-Fulham roundabout, the mini roundabout, and why I voted for it in the first place was that I was told that that was the only way we were getting that grant money, was if that was the direction we went. So I don't like hearing that that's not maybe the way it was, and I still do believe that is we wouldn't have gotten the grant money had we not done a mini roundabout there. So I'm not actually
that's 100%.
So I wasn't the only one that misunderstood
I mean,
that?
my clarification of that is that if you would have taken that and turned that back in, if you would have come up with, or if we would have, or if the engineers would have come up with some other idea there, you could have made an application on that. You wouldn't be able to just turn around and say, we want to leave it the way it is and get a TSIP grant or anything like that. I mean, you would have had to come up with what that other alternative is.
Right. But my impression was that, my understanding of what we were told is that the only way to get a TSIP grant for that intersection was to design it as the mini roundabout, that we would not get funded any other way.
No, that is not true. If you wanted to reconfigure that intersection and put full-blown signals in there, traffic signals, you could make a TSIP grant application based on that.
That would have the possibility of being funded.
It would have a possibility, yes.
Okay. See, and that was not
the cost-benefit ratio would be a little dubious, but yes.
Right, and that was not in any way, shape, or form how I understood it, which is why I went ahead and voted for the mini roundabout at that intersection. In this particular case, not to drag on about something that we'd already voted on, but in this particular case, I've got to agree with Councilman Harvey. As much as I believe I will probably support a roundabout at that intersection, that's a lot of dollars given the current climate of where, of what's going on at the legislature right now with dollars and having concerns about that, as well as what, the public had mentioned earlier with, the additional fees we're charging right now. So spending exploratory money concerns me a bit when we haven't, made a decision on whether we want a roundabout there either. So
I understand that.
My opinion on it.
Any other discussion?
I'd like to just add that I understand this proposal, and I believe I fairly understood the last proposal. So I feel in no way misled or misunderstood. So it was clear to me.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Sounds to me like we have 2 nays, Councilman Brackett and Councilman Harvey, and 4 ayes, Councilman Fitzgerald, Councilman Malcolm, Councilwoman Brockert, and Councilman Spread. Is that what you got? The request is approved with 4 ayes, 2 nays. 11J. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to SignPro in an amount not to exceed $8,500 for signage at the Muscatine Public Library and HNI Community Center. Comprehensive signage is critical to efficient and safe operation of the library and the community center. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11K. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the letter of understanding with Bonesack and Frommelt LLP for the fiscal year 17-18 audit. Audit procedures require that a letter of understanding be signed by the auditor and the city each year, documenting responsibilities for specific areas of the audit, including number 1, audit objectives, number 2, management responsibilities, 3, audit procedures for general, internal control, and compliance purposes, and engagement, administration, fees, and other. The attached letter of understanding includes this information and reflects the fee of $42,400 for the 17-18 audit. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Brackett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The request is approved with all ayes. 11L, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a professional services agreement with IIWPC for the design and engineering of the Hauser Street parking expansion and athletic field grading project. This project consists of the construction of a parking facility with up to 228 parking spots, enhancing the safety of street crossing and the grading of 4 field areas. This project is funded by a grant from the Roy J. Carver Charitable Trust and the City of Muscatine. The land was donated by Kent Corporation. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm assuming if this eventually goes ahead as far as the actual building of what's proposed in this agreement, that our development of that area won't stop at that point. In other words, there's some of the items in the exclusions on this contract that we will want to design into it before we move any dirt at all. So I'm wondering whether we ought to not look ahead and say, if we're going to really develop this area, some of the things, other items like this sanitary sewer design, telephone fiber optic design installation, preparation of easement plots, all that, some of these exclusions I think ought to be done now before we, this is not the construction project, I know, but it ought to be designed in now before we ever turn a spade full of dirt.
Can you speak to that, Jim?
While Rich is on his way up, just to be clear, there's really 2 components to the project. One is simply a parking lot, and then the second is for rough and final grading and seeding, we'll call it multi-purpose fields or grass surrounding that area. So there should be plenty of opportunity to design or enhance the project at some future date. But
I'm not opposed to this design, but I think it should go further than it is. I mean, we ought to know before we make the parking lot, what's going to go underneath that parking lot. Before we grade, what this design is for the design and stuff of those fields, grading with the humps, what's underground there ought to be designed in now.
And it is. These design services will include the parking lot, the concept plan, which will include the footprint for additional shelters, a restroom facility with sanitary, field lights, the additional trailing that's approved already in the project budgets. Everything's there already.
Okay.
Yeah, this completes.
We knew you'd have the answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Rich, is it going to be possible to use any water permeable surfaces in this particular development so that we don't have a lot of ponding of water and, you know, problems with getting rid of water?
We will be shifting that parking lot down as close to Kenton Park as we can to the entrance.
Okay.
And we are going to look at some permeable parking there with maybe grant opportunities.
Great.
Can't guarantee it, but we know there's water drainage in that area, and that is also in the design to fix that.
Okay.
John Cook has volunteered to work with Rich. He'd like to see additional water into that wetland area over there that's pretty dry, and this is an opportunity to work together, and there may be some grant dollars to get that done.
Great,
So.
great. Thank you.
Exciting
Thank you,
project.
Rich.
This
Yes,
project-
it is.
It's
It
been in the
really
works
is.
for a long, long time, so here we go.
Yep.
And
Very good. Thank you.
If I may, I just would like to clarify that the land was donated. The quitclaim deed is being prepared right now, and we'll come back to council. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Hearing no other further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. Moving on down to number 14, communication from council members. Councilman Harvey, do you have anything tonight?
Yes, Your Honor. I kind of forewarned Jim that I was going to ask this. As you know, I've always been concerned about access to the riverfront across the 2 railroad track crossings that we have now. And I noticed that the width between the crossing arms on the Mississippi Drive side are about 17, I'm just guessing now, about 15 feet wider apart than the crossing arms on the riverside, which means in my mind that crossing could possibly be 15 feet wider than it is now. And I'm just wondering how we got roped into having such a narrow railroad crossing when it could be potentially 15 feet wider than it is. And is my observation about that 15 feet more or less correct, I guess, you know?
Can you shed some light for us?
I will do the best I can.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council. Councilman Harvey is absolutely 100% correct. The set of gates that set towards the river are closer together than the gates that set out closer to Mississippi Drive. The distance for the gates that are closest to Mississippi Drive is the limiting factor. Those are where we started to run afoul of our good friends at CP Rail about how long those arms can be. We even did investigate a cross arm that has a little wing on it, that as it comes down like this wing flips out like that to see if we could even get them longer. That did not go well with CP Rail at all. In fact, we were told that they were never going to install one of those ever again, which tells me they did somewhere and didn't like it. So out next to Mississippi Drive is your limiting factor, and so you have radiuses that come around from there. So it's just the geometrics of that turning radius that come in there that make that next set of gates in there closer together. So it's cheaper to have that next set closer together. We could set them out farther apart. Well, boy, that opens up a can of worms. You could do that. It would be fairly expensive at this point in time to do that, but you could do that. I don't really see. The one point that I disagree with Councilman Harvey on is that would somehow be of benefit. Your radius return is still going to be the limit of what you can turn in there on. So in the perfect scenario where there were no cars at all there, you might be able to swing a little wider on that curve to go around there. But making it wider on that second set of gates doesn't benefit you like I think Councilman Harvey believes it would.
Well, I think a wider intersection would increase the available radius of turn for long vehicles. Right now, a long vehicle might indeed cross over the center line of the, say, traffic coming out of the riverfront in order to make the turn. You know, like a typical truck turning on any one of our streets, they jump the curb and stuff. And I just think a mistake was made that we didn't get that as wide as we possibly could.
I would be more than happy to sit down with you and a piece of paper and those set of plans and talk our way through it.
I'm still concerned that, and I know we talked about it, that a tour bus or carnival semis and stuff are going to have a hard time making right turns across the railroad crossing. That's just my opinion. Particularly if there's traffic trying to come out at the same time.
Okay.
Thank you. Did you have anything else, Councilman Harvey? No. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Councilman Spread?
Yeah, I'm just really looking for more information here. I read the minutes of the ad hoc committee for the permitting process review, and it appears to me that you're going to be looking to city staff for some considerable resources. Is there any reasonable estimate of the time and resources it's going to take to do this? And also, will there be an accounting of that when we're done?
There will absolutely be an accounting of that when we're done. That's going to be part of the entire process, and I am going to attempt to minimize that time as much as possible. I have asked David to schedule a time to meet with me at when it's convenient for him, and I hope that meeting will be less than an hour.
Okay. Well, when you figure it out, if you could email us with your best reasonable estimate, I think that'd be helpful, if you can do that.
Okay. Well, at this time, we're hoping for less than an hour for that meeting.
For the whole thing?
I don't know at this time, but I can.
Okay. Well, I have reason to believe, like, the research for 3 years worth of permits, you've got 1 year that are electronic, the rest of it's paper-based.
Well,
So
then,
there are issues and resources that we, you know.
and that's information I didn't have yet,
Yeah.
which I was going to be asking about when I met with Dave. So
Okay.
that may increase or limit what we have access to in a reasonable way, because we are trying to keep the time commitment from staff to be as minimal as possible.
Okay. Thank
Which is why we didn't include a staff person, other than we did ask for Cinda to provide, to be there for minutes at our meetings. But as far as the additional work, no. So,
And I have provided Dave a copy of the minutes so that he can review the request and take a look and see what he thinks it would take from staff time and commitment.
And they are online for the public as well.
and the reason that I requested a meeting with Dave instead of just sending him the request of information is because I want to make sure that we are formatting our request in the most convenient way possible for him, and that we're not asking him to double up or dig in ways that are overly time consuming. So if I go in, meet with Dave, and find that what we discussed at our meeting is going to be overwhelming, then I will put that on hold, go back to the meeting, to our next meeting. We will discuss it at that time to come up with a different plan so as to not take up that much of his time.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you. It's a good question. I appreciate that.
Anything else, Councilman Spread?
No, thank you.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Councilman Malcolm?
And thank you, Your Honor. Just one thing. I actually want to thank the residents for, how do you pronounce it, Witter?
Correct.
And that came out last week. They met with me and Councilman Santos and the administration. I found it very informative, and I was very pleasantly surprised that the residents had so much background information, and they provided literature at their own expense to catch us up to where they were. And it was nice to see that they took their time, even by bringing their children with them, to make sure we understood their opinion. And my takeaway from that was they desperately would like to have potholes repaired and their alley repaved. And I don't think any decision was made at that meeting. The Public Works Director said that he would look at other opportunities and possibly have another meeting with them to discuss it, but I was just pleasantly surprised to see people involvement, and especially on the afternoon. And I thank them for their participation. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Brockert?
Thank you, Your Honor. Last Saturday, when I was heading to coffee with the mayor, I headed up the bypass, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see a group of folks with their reflective vests and their trash bags picking up stuff along the bypass. So to them, thank you very much. And I'd also like to ask for thoughts and prayers for the family who suffered a house fire this afternoon on Hershey Avenue.
Thank you. Councilman Brackett?
All right. Basically all I've got tonight is I would like to let people know that I am going to start holding office hours once a month. I've talked to staff about this, and as well as the director of the library, and there's an office at the new library that is going to be available for us to use. Other council would be welcome to use it as well. And I am planning on the fourth Saturday of every month at this point from 11 to 2. If need be, I may increase the frequency of that, but at this time I think that we'll start with once a month and see how that goes. And that will be on the second floor of the new library starting on June 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor. I saw an late email from, or not late, but an email this afternoon from Councilmember Sped on Senate File 2081, and last I checked, I didn't see that any action had been taken.
Okay.
Which is what?
Roll back.
On the backfill?
Backfill.
I just had a few things tonight. We had a great success last week. We held our first job fair at the high school, in an effort to team up our youth for summer jobs with employers that were looking for that. And we were able to pair about 100 young people with a summer job. So we considered that very exciting and a win for the whole community. We were really excited and hope to do this again. Next, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Our City. Our City is a program that we're doing on Tuesday nights here in the mayor's office at 6:30. We're hosting a different staff person from the city or community organization, 2 of them in each episode. And we just talked to John Cook this past Tuesday from the Water and Resource Recovery Facility, previously Water Pollution Control Plant. John will correct you on that. Good things going on down there with the Pollinator Park is going to be in full swing here very, very soon. But coming up on Tuesday, we are going to have Parks and Rec staff Dave Crawley and Kelsey Stafford there going to talk to us about the things starting up with Parks and Rec, and Greg Jenkins from the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce. So you can find this show on YouTube live, on the Facebook page, Our City, on the city's Facebook page, and the city's YouTube page, and then it's replayed later on Channel 9 for the folks at home as well. There are a few glitches and kinks to work out on getting it on the city's YouTube page. We've had a little trouble there, but we're getting all that worked out, and we really hope to be able to share information with the folks at home on the good things going on in our community, and there sure is a lot. I don't think I'll ever run out of topics. Next, I'd like to share that the cemetery steps are now open, and there is going to be an opening ceremony on May 12th at 10 o'clock at the top of the steps, and the public is welcome to come to that. That is also Coffee with the Mayor in May, and so we're going to have coffee at the top of the cemetery steps at 9 and then join right on to the opening ceremony. 2 days before that, on Thursday, May 10th, they're going to have all the kindergartners come from the school district, and they're going to line the stairs so that we can count the stairs by counting the kids, and they're planning a really nice field trip there. So it should be lovely, and anybody is welcome to come out and support that great service to our community. Lastly, I would like to just remind folks that today is National Day of Prayer. And I know that a lot of churches in our community have joined together tonight and are praying for our country, for our state, for our community, and for each other even as we speak. I would ask all the folks at home to continue to pray for all of us together as everyone works for the good of our country, and certainly for our service members wherever they are. We appreciate that. I don't have anything else tonight, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.